The ocean can be a scary place. Here are 9 of the most terrifying sea monsters of all time. Number 9. Predator X. Predator X is the most powerful marine reptile ever discovered. Over 15 meters long and weighing about 4 tons, it was twice as big as most Jurassic predators. The giant reptile roamed the seas about 150 million years ago and was officially classified as a new species. Now known as Plesiosaurus funke, it had a massive 2-meter skull with a bite 4 times as powerful as a Tyrannosaurus rex, although I prefer the name Predator X. Studies of the brain cavity of Predator X has revealed that its brain was actually similar to the much smaller great white shark. In 2006, scientists found 2 massive pliosaur skeletons in Norway. The pliosaur family had short necks and 4 large paddle-shaped limbs like a turtle that allowed them to move up to 5 meters per second. The newly discovered funke species likely lived closer to 145 million years ago and ate plesiosaurs, related long-necked, small-headed reptiles. The new analysis shows P. funke had longer front paddles than other pliosaurs and different teeth. This predator is still bigger than the largest living apex predator, the killer whale, which tops out at about 9 meters long. Number 8. Plesiosaurs. Even though it was smaller than Predator X, its mouth was full of needle-like teeth pointing inward, a perfect death trap for prey and for ripping flesh. In 1987, a plesiosaur fossil was discovered with the bones of an embryo in its abdomen, proving that the animal gave birth to live young. Plesiosaurs would swallow stones weighing about 5 pounds to help them digest their prey. If there was one plesiosaur you needed to watch out for, it was Livyatan. This carnivorous beast could weigh over 3,500 pounds and reach over 30 feet in length, including jaws that are believed to be 10 feet alone, complete, of course, with a very wide jaw and several rows of razor-sharp teeth. Their bodies consisted of a unique paddle design for limbs which has been tested and proven on small swimming robots. Most likely they hunted similar to the crocodiles of today with short and fast burst attacks. So that makes them just perfect for any underwater haunted aquarium. Number 7. Giant sea scorpion. Since there's no way I can pronounce this, we'll just call this one the giant sea scorpion. Larger than a human and about the size of a crocodile, the 390-million-year-old sea scorpion was the top predator of its day. This was one of the 2 largest arthropods to have ever lived, reaching a length of over 8 feet of armored clawed horror. Most of us freak out at the thought of a tarantula, so it's easy to imagine screaming like a banshee if you ever swam by one of these. A huge fossilized spiky claw discovered in Germany in 2007 measured 18 inches. We've known about supersized insects for years now, but it wasn't until this discovery that scientists realized just how big some of these creepy crawlies can get. The next biggest fossil arthropods were massive millipedes that grew more than 2 meters long. Number 6. Basilosaurus. The Basilosaurus name and appearance make it seem like an ancient reptile, but it's actually a bloodthirsty ancestor of today's whales. It's ironic given that its name means king lizard, but that's because when it was discovered by Richard Owen in 1834, it was thought to be a reptile. It wasn't until over 10 years later that he discovered it was actually a mammal and tried to rename it the Zeuglodon, meaning yolk tooth, but that didn't really catch on. It's the closest a whale has ever come to being a snake due to its long eel-like body averaging about 65 feet long, complete with a narrow snout and jaw full of large, spiky teeth. It most likely ate other kinds of prehistoric mammals as its main food source. Its skeletal structure was surprisingly weak for its size and power. Its vertebrae was actually hollow, so it stayed near the water's surface where the pressure wasn't as intense, waiting for other whales to come up for air. Luckily, we weren't around back then because I don't know if our ships would be able to handle a cannibalistic 65-foot-long alligator, eel, snake, whale thing. Physical evidence shows that the Basilosaur weren't very smart and they didn't have the cognitive ability of today's whales, nor did they have echolocation. Strangely enough, they only navigated in 2 dimensions, so they didn't do any deep diving or breaching. Weird. Number 5. Dunkleosteus. The Dunkleosteus existed during the Devonian period when vertebrates were just starting to live on land, but Dunkleosteus was much more evolved. It was around 30 feet long and didn't have teeth, but instead bony plates like turtles today, which combined with an 8,000-pound bite force made for an extremely unfair fight. There were many bony armored fish in the ocean in those days, and the strong bite would crush the chunky exterior, making its prey more edible. Dunkle's head and neck was protected by a hard shield, which also helped to concentrate its immensely powerful biting muscles. The Dunkleosteus is right up there with the crocodile and T-Rex for history's strongest biters, and I'm sure if it were around today, it would hold that title proud. Based on evidence from their skull regarding musculature, it is believed that the Dunkleosteus could open its mouth in 1/50th of a second. During its years on Earth, the Dunkleosteus plates that made up its teeth changed to allow it to hold its prey more easily as it tried to escape for dear life. Number 4. Megalodon. Thanks to Shark Week on the Discovery Channel, the Megalodon is now a very famous ancient sea beast. It could reach over 60 feet in length and was about 3 to 5 times the size of today's great white shark. Weighing as much as 100 tons, it had the most powerful bite of any creature that has ever lived. In the massive 7-foot jaws of the Megalodon, there were 5 rows of around 276 compressed, blade-like teeth that were made for cutting and grasping powerful prey. Its bite was strong enough to crush a car and was much stronger than that of the great white shark and even Tyrannosaurus rex. Some cryptozoologists believe that the Megalodon could still be alive today in some of the deeper parts of the ocean, although it isn't very likely. There have been some reports of a huge shark, most recently near the Sea of Cortez. Like the Leviathan, the Megalodon hunted near the surface. Over the years, it developed a unique hunting technique. This idea comes from fossil evidence showing ancient whale vertebrae to have compression damage that seems to have been caused by a tremendous blow from beneath. For larger victims, they would bite off the fins and tail and then beat it into submission before eating it. The Megalodon died off about 2.6 million years ago, which means it ate animals that are still around today, like whales, porpoises, and sea turtles. So why did the Megalodon die off when other creatures that lived around the same time survived? It's likely that the changing temperatures of water of the last ice age and declining food supplies, probably because it was eating everything in sight, led the monster shark to extinction. Number 3. Livyatan Melvillei. You know how I was just telling you about carnivorous whales? Moby Dick may have been fictional, but this prehistoric predatory whale had the largest functional teeth ever known, some measuring over a foot long. First described in 2008, we now know that it was one of the most fearsome predators in the ocean and lived around the same time as the Megalodon and competed for the same food. If they came face to face, I wonder who would win this epic battle. Weighing up to 50 tons, their head alone was about 10 feet long, and it seems like they were equipped with the same echolocating equipment as modern whales. It is believed that the Leviathan was a surface hunter and headbutted its victims at high speed to knock them unconscious, which is when its teeth would come into play. So what happened to this powerful sea beast? Large predators have had a hard time adapting to changing conditions, and the changing climate and food supply may have been too much for it. It's still a relatively new species for us, so as research continues, we may be in for more surprises. Number 2. Mosasaurus. Mosasaurs were marine reptiles that lived during the dinosaur era. Reaching almost 60 feet in length, it was about the same size as the Megalodon. Both were the apex predators of the sea while they lived, but these monsters were separated by about 50 million years. The Mosasaurus was one of the most dangerous beasts prowling the waters throughout the entire Cretaceous period. It had a head shape similar to a crocodile with anywhere from 40 to 50 massive teeth and a jaw that was double hinged so they could swallow their prey whole like a snake. Like all other reptiles, it had to come to the surface to breathe air, and it had paddle-like fins that gave it better mobility in the water. And here is number 1, but first, be sure to subscribe. Number 1. Thalattoarchon Saurophagis. Say that 3 times really fast. Only recently discovered in 2008, T. Saurophagis was the size of a school bus, reaching nearly 30 feet long, whose massive jaws allowed them to hunt prey as large as they were or bigger. This T-Rex of the sea was an early species of ichthyosaur that ruled the ocean some 244 million years ago. This was about 8 million years after Earth's greatest mass extinction, only is relative, when 95% of marine life is thought to have been wiped out. Its discovery is giving scientists new insights into the quick recovery of the ecosystem. A top predator indicates that an ecosystem is complete. Thalattoarchon was officially classified as a genus in 2013. With this beast only being discovered within the last decade, what other creatures are lurking underground waiting to be found? Thanks for watching. For more mysterious facts about the ocean, click here. See you later!